There is a man who scored one of the lowest IQ scores ever recorded in clinical history. Doctors said he would never hold a job. Teachers said he would never read a full sentence. His own family was told to prepare for a life where he would need constant care. But here is what nobody expected. That same man went on to live independently, hold a steady job for 27 years, build real friendships, and according to the people around him, he was one of the happiest human beings they had ever met. And that raises a question that most psychologists are still struggling to answer. If IQ measures intelligence, then why did this man with an extremely low IQ live a more fulfilled life than millions of people with genius-level scores? Today, we are going to break down something that almost nobody talks about: the real psychology behind people who have extremely low IQ. And I promise you, what you are about to hear will completely shatter everything you thought you knew about intelligence, success, and what it actually means to be smart. But before we go any further, there is one thing I need you to understand first. Most people hear the words low IQ and they immediately picture someone who cannot function, someone who cannot think, someone who is broken. And that right there, that assumption is the first psychological trap. Because IQ does not measure what most people think it measures. IQ stands for intelligence quotient. It was originally designed in 1905 by a French psychologist named Alfred Binet. And here's the part that will surprise you. Binet himself said that his test should never be used as a permanent measure of someone's intelligence. He created it for one simple purpose: to identify children in French schools who needed extra help. That's it. It was never meant to label someone as smart or dumb for the rest of their life. But what happened? Society took that test, turned it into a ranking system, and started dividing human beings into categories like products on a shelf. Here's what IQ actually measures: your ability to recognize patterns, solve abstract problems, process information quickly, and use working memory under timed conditions. Here is what IQ does not measure: emotional intelligence, creativity, social awareness, adaptability, resilience, street smarts, musical ability, physical intelligence, empathy, or wisdom. So when we say someone has an extremely low IQ, what we are really saying is that their brain processes one specific type of information slower than average. That's it. We are not saying they are worthless. We are not saying they cannot feel, love, dream, or contribute. We are saying their brain works differently in one narrow area. And yet, society treats them as if they are less than human. Now let me show you what is really going on inside their minds. Stay with me here because this part is fascinating. When neuroscientists study the brains of people with extremely low IQ scores, typically below 70 on the standard scale, they find something that most people do not expect. The brains are not empty, they are not broken. In many cases, they are simply wired differently. Research published in the journal Neuroimage found that individuals with lower IQ scores often show reduced connectivity in the prefrontal cortex. That is the area responsible for planning, decision-making, and abstract reasoning. But here's the twist. Several studies have found that these same individuals often show increased activity in the limbic system, the part of the brain responsible for emotions, bonding, and social connection. Read that again. Lower abstract thinking, higher emotional processing. This means that while a person with extremely low IQ may struggle to solve a math equation or understand a complex theory, they may actually feel emotions more deeply than someone with a genius-level IQ. They may form stronger emotional bonds, they may experience joy more intensely, and they may connect with people on a level that highly analytical minds simply cannot reach. And this is not just theory. There is real clinical evidence to support this. Dr. Daniel Goleman, the psychologist who popularized the concept of emotional intelligence, has argued repeatedly that EQ, emotional quotient, is actually a stronger predictor of life satisfaction than IQ. And people with low IQ, many of them are naturally high in EQ without even trying. Now here's where it gets even interesting. After reviewing dozens of clinical studies and case reports, there are 5 consistent psychological patterns found in people with extremely low IQ, and some of these will genuinely shock you. People with high IQ tend to overthink. They analyze every option, every outcome, every possible scenario, and often end up paralyzed by their own intelligence. People with extremely low IQ do the opposite. They operate on instinct. They make decisions quickly. They do not spiral into analysis paralysis. And research from the University of Cambridge has shown that in certain real-world situations, especially those requiring fast action, simple decision-making actually outperforms complex analytical thinking. Their brains cut through the noise. No overthinking, no existential dread, just action. This one surprises most psychologists. You would expect people with extremely low IQ to be more emotionally fragile, but multiple studies show the opposite. A 2017 study published in Intelligence Journal found that individuals with lower IQ scores reported lower levels of existential anxiety compared to those with higher IQ scores. Why? Because existential anxiety requires abstract thinking. You need to conceptualize the future, imagine worst-case scenarios, and question the meaning of existence. People with extremely low IQ are less likely to engage in this kind of abstract rumination. They live in the present, they deal with what is in front of them, and as a result, they often experience less chronic stress and worry than intellectually gifted individuals. In simple words, they do not torture themselves with thoughts about the future. High IQ individuals are often masters of social masking. They learn what to say, how to behave, and how to present themselves in ways that gain approval. People with extremely low IQ struggle with this kind of social performance, and that is actually a hidden strength. Because they cannot easily mask, they tend to be radically authentic. What you see is what you get. They do not manipulate, they do not play mind games, they express exactly what they feel in the moment. And psychologically, this authenticity creates deep trust with the people around them. It is why caregivers, friends, and family members of individuals with low IQ often describe them using the same word over and over again: genuine. Here's something most people do not realize. People with extremely low IQ can still develop incredible skills. It just takes longer and requires more repetition. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections, does not stop working just because someone has a low IQ. It simply works at a different pace. There are documented cases of individuals with IQ scores below 70 who became highly skilled in specific areas: cooking, gardening, mechanical work, music, art, through years of repetitive practice. Their brains did not learn faster, their brains learned deeper. Because they repeated tasks thousands of times, their neural pathways for those specific skills became incredibly strong, sometimes even stronger than someone with high IQ who learned the same skill quickly but superficially. Slow learning is not broken learning, it's deep learning. This is the most important one. Multiple psychological studies have found a surprising pattern. The relationship between IQ and happiness is not linear. A landmark study from University College London analyzed data from over 6,000 individuals and found that people with extremely high IQ and people with extremely low IQ both reported challenges with happiness, but for completely different reasons. High IQ individuals struggled with overthinking, social isolation, and chronic dissatisfaction. Low IQ individuals struggled with societal judgment, limited opportunities, and dependence on others. But here's the critical difference. When low IQ individuals were placed in supportive environments where they felt accepted, valued, and included, their happiness levels skyrocketed. In many cases, they reported higher life satisfaction than the average population. Their happiness was not dependent on achievement, status, or intellectual stimulation. It was dependent on connection, belonging, and feeling loved.
And if you really think about that, that might be the most psychologically healthy relationship with happiness that any human being can have. Here's the uncomfortable truth.
Society has built an entire system around one specific type of intelligence: analytical, logical, measurable intelligence. And anyone who does not fit that mold gets labeled as less than. We put IQ scores on a scale and we treat the bottom of that scale like a death sentence. But intelligence is not a single number. It never was. Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences identified at least 8 different types of intelligence: linguistic, logical, musical, spatial, bodily, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and naturalistic. IQ tests measure maybe 2 of those. So when we say someone has an extremely low IQ, we are measuring 2 dimensions of intelligence and ignoring the other 6. That is like judging a fish by its ability to climb a tree and calling it stupid when it cannot. The real psychological tragedy is not that these people have low IQ scores. The real tragedy is that society looks at them and sees a limitation, when in reality, they carry strengths that most high IQ individuals spend their entire lives trying to develop: presence, authenticity, emotional depth, simplicity, connection. These are not weaknesses. These are psychological superpowers that most humans have been conditioned out of. If you have watched this far, you are not just a viewer. You are someone who thinks deeper than most. And here is the lesson I want to leave you with. Intelligence is not what makes a person valuable. Intelligence is not what makes a life meaningful. And intelligence is certainly not what determines whether someone deserves respect, love, or a place in this world. The man I told you about at the beginning, the one with one of the lowest IQ scores ever recorded, he never wrote a book. He never built a company. He never went viral on the internet. But he showed up to work every single day for 27 years. He remembered the names of everyone he met. He laughed louder than anyone in the room. And when he passed away, hundreds of people came to his funeral. Hundreds. Not because he was smart, but because he made every single person he met feel like they mattered. And if that is not intelligence, I do not know what is. Now, here is what I want you to do. If this video changed even one thing about how you see intelligence, drop a comment below and tell me what shifted for you. I read every single comment personally. And if you know someone, a friend, a family member, anyone who has ever been made to feel less than because of a test score or a label, send them this video. Not because it will change the world overnight, but because sometimes one video is all it takes to remind someone that they are not broken, they are just built different. Now hit that subscribe button, because every week on this channel, we go deep into the psychology that nobody else is willing to talk about. The kind of psychology that doesn't just inform your brain, it transforms how you see the entire world. I will see you in the next one.